Walk with me.
The I am reigneth. Let the earth rejoice, and let the multitude of the isles be glad thereof. Clouds and darkness are round about him. Righteousness and judgment are the habitation of his throne. A fire go out before him, and burneth up his enemies round about. His lightnings enlighten the world, the earth saw and trembled. The hills melted like wax, and at the presence of the Almighty, at the presence of the Creator of the whole earth. The heavens declare his righteousness, and all the people see his glory. Confounded be all they that serve graven images, that boast themselves of idols. Worship him, all ye gods. Zion heard and was glad, and the daughters of Judah rejoiced because of thy judgments, O Yahuwah. For thou, O Yahalah, art high above all the earth. Thou art exalted above all gods. Ye that love the Almighty hate evil. He preserveth the souls of his saints, and he delivered them out of the hands of the wicked. Light is sown for the righteousness, and gladness for the upright in heart. Yes. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Deliver me from the hands of evil spirits who have sway over the thoughts of men's hearts, and let them not lead me astray from thee, my God. Establish thou me in my seed forever, that we go not astray henceforth and forevermore. Jubilees chapter 12 and verse 20. Yes. We give God the glory and the praise, and most of all, we thank God for those of you that have been with us from the beginning, and we thank God for those of you that have been with us thereafter and here and there's about, and we thank God for those of you that have subscribed and followed, just done it, and we thank God for you, yes, and we thank God for those of you that are about to subscribe or follow, and we call those things that are not as though they are. Yes, we certainly give God the praise. We thank God for all things. We just do a little something there, that's all. Yes, we're still in the book of Jasher. The book of Jasher. Yes, even though we think of the words, he's sweet, I know. Storm clouds may rise, the billows may roll, but he's sweet, I know. Yes, he is. I mean, he's sweet in the time of trouble. He's sweet in the time of tribulation. Look what he did even to Joseph when he was thrown. I don't know about your situation or what you've been through, but I'm only using a historical account. I can talk of the things that he's done for me in my calamity, in my distress. I can think of the things that he caused to give me even in the midst of devils. I mean, literal demons. How he just give me a calm spirit and talk and tell me it's okay. Literally. His angel that he sent. Yes, because really, most of the time, God do not talk to just men. These women say, oh, God talked to me. God ain't talk to you. God sent an angel. Either God sent something, or I heard a voice from God. I heard a voice from the Creator. The Creator pricked my heart. I believe it's the Creator. And then if you think it's the Creator, many times the Creator will not say anything above his word. He will not say anything apart from what he told even his own prophets before you. These things are already done. They are already done. Maybe God might have sent you to remind somebody. Put it upon your heart. That's a good way to say God have put it upon my heart. Whether he did it by angel or by some spirit. Because Balaam heard spirits, and them spirits were true too. They were right. He understood. He foretold many things, but he was right. Was that God? That's about God allowed this to happen. He was really warning Pharaoh, you about to go down, boy. And now, for those of you of the whore, and those of you that have really lucratively enriched yourself off the children of Judah, Eve, and of Jacob. Respectfully. Shout out to that brother. But either way, yes. But either way, we are in verse 26. Verse 26 of the 77th chapter of the book of Jasher. Jasher chapter 77 and verse 26. This is going to be a delightful thing. Okay. And it reads, and Moses, the son of Amram, was still confined in the dungeon in those days in the house of Reuel the Midianite. And Zipporah, the daughter of Reuel, did support him with food secretly day by day. You know, it's something, you men that do not even have a wife or a woman, yes, you go out and find a wife, and many times the children of Jacob and those that they're hidden among have been set up. You've been set up by spirits. It's not just these women are acting crazy. You go and you speak and you give them a flower. I remember back in my day, if you gave them a flower, you know, if they act like they didn't want you or nothing like that, you would just be friends with them. You give them flowers, a phone call. We didn't have cell phones in my teenage years. But you give them a phone call and you talk on the phone and you laugh and you talk, and eventually she's starting to get to know you. They didn't shun you like they shun young men today. Talk about those of you below 50. This is what I'm talking about. They didn't act like you was trying to get something. Some were. And when we say Pookie and Ray Ray, we're talking about those that are in the hood, and beautiful woman, she just uses them to get her rocks off, to put it that bluntly. But then she winds up with a baby. She likes the, should I say, the intrigue, like when you deal with M7. What's his name? Not him, but either way, it's Mission Impossible. Loving the adventure, loving the intrigue, loving the chaos. Once he's gone to prison because of the things that he's done or either demise, she moves on to the next man. Just like Dak says, you say you want a real man. Is that a real man or is that a real fool? See, it depends on the parents. A lot of times the parents allow these things to happen because, you know, they want, some of these women have grown up, even in my day, to want this person that was the party guy. He was the guy everybody went to, the GOAT. You had no skills. You was in your mama's house, and that was it. But everybody liked you, even the pretty girls. And not only in high school, when you got out of 8th grade. Oh, yeah. And then once they get stuck with all those children and the man made them all those promises, oh, man ain't no good. And the same thing, the curse goes on. The curse goes on, rolls on. You got to break it. Young woman that have not known a man yet. Young woman that have not even been enthused by these type of men. Yes, admire them from a distance because they're exciting. I understand how women would think so. Because if that's wasn't the case, they wouldn't have the guys hanging around them that want to be like them either. Yeah, but then you have to think soberly. This man really has nothing. And what he has, it could go any moment. And what he has, he could even get caught and be out of my life. You have to think about that. What about nerd, He's not a bad-looking guy. The nerd guy is not the one guy that, he just don't hang with those folks. He come from a good home. His father and his mother's there. Or his mother might be just there. She might have made that mistake with some other guy before him. But yet her brothers, and you see him, he's with his uncles, or maybe he's around with his older brothers who have experienced his father. His father might have died in the war. It was Vietnam. When I was a kid, Vietnam was still, there were many that just came back from Vietnam. And so, who were they? I mean, it's time to sober up, lady. It's time to sober up, man. Put on these skin-tight clothes and all these things, trying to entice a man or want that attention from the man. Not only from the man, but you want the admiration of other women. So you put on these tights that show your protruding butts. Put it right. And God give you your body, yes, to attract your mate, your husband, the one you will be with, so you say, the rest of your life. This is what he give it to you for. Yes, other men are going to be attracted. Abraham, he had a beautiful wife. Other men were attracted. He was afraid because these men was not right. These were the Pookie and Ray Rays of that time, although they were kings and subjects of the king that wanted to lay with his wife. You think they care? This happened way back then. Even the king of Sodom and the king that when he passed through the land, Abraham saw these things. He went through a lot of things because he had a beautiful wife. But was she the one causing this? Was she the one, oh, I want you. Ooh, you're exciting. No. She loved her husband. She respected her husband. She was thankful to God for the one she had received and that had received her. And she knew the value of matrimony. Now here we are, and Moses, the son of Amram, in verse 26, was still confined in the dungeon those days in the house of Reuel. Verse 27, and Moses was confined in the dungeon of the house of Reuel for 10 years. And at the end of the 10 years, which was the first year of the reign of Pharaoh over Egypt in the place of his father, Zipporah, this is who I'm getting to, Zipporah, listen, said to her father Reuel, no person inquires or seek after the Hebrew man whom thou didst bind in prison now 10 years. Now therefore, see, Zipporah admired Moses because not only was Moses disfigured, he had to be, because when he was a toddler, Balaam had convinced Pharaoh to destroy this baby. And so the angel had to do something that would cause them to think otherwise. Put a coal in his hand, and the baby was cool in his hand, but when he put it in his mouth, this was a baby, it became hot like the coal and burnt his tongue and mouth. That's where he had the speech impediment. And she says now, if it seems good in thy sight, let us sin and see whether he is living or dead. But her father knew not that she had supported him. A man that have done all this for me, Zipporah, he protected me. I know he can protect me even if I was his wife. But she was not the one to suggest such a thing. It was up to her father. And her father being afraid of the Cushites. These were black people. I'm always going to reiterate that because I know those of you that are of the religious and the political part will insist that your ancestors were not black and you're not, and that you are Arabs. Really, you are not Arabs. Arabs were black. They're the hooder. Yes, God gonna show all you up. But either way, I digress on that one. But either way, let's go to again. Now, in verse 31, Reuel, her father, answered and said to her, has such a thing ever happened, that a man should be shut up in prison without food for 10 years, and that he should live? Now, this is something, a woman of status, a woman of stature, She sees a good man. I'm not talking about Pookie and Ray Ray been thrown in there for drugs or whatever they've been thrown in there for. No. The baby daddy you had that was really no good in the first place, that you say all men are no good, or that baby daddy that got himself and found another woman who was bad, or more, should I say, you say you're a baddie. This is what the word you use. A baddie, more baddie than you? Or she might have been a nice girl and he just says, this girl is contaminated, even though he gave you a baby. And he went with something look less, that you consider less beautiful, less, got all of this, as you all put it. And then he marries her. Why? Because he's there, she's there for him. Zipporah didn't see the riches that Moses had because Moses had nothing. Zipporah didn't see the things that the normal woman of today, the young woman of today, sees when she's looking for a man. But Zipporah saw a beautiful man in spirit, a man that will protect her, provide, and do those things. And she saw greatness in this man. God put it in her heart. Would not God put that in you? Don't get me wrong. Don't twist it. I know Satan will come and try to steal the thought, but the young woman, a man of worth, a man that loves God. I ain't talking about your Isis. A man that loves morality, a man that will stand for what is right and defend those who are wronged. This is the young man, or the man you should be looking toward. Not because he gets behind a pulpit and teaches and preaches. And that man just as bad as the one that Pookie and Ray Ray. Pookie and Ray Ray is the preacher behind the pulpit too. You want him because he makes you look good. Oh, even the Bible says she sits in high places, saying to the simple young ones, come unto me. Yes, these things have not changed. Check your heart. Let's continue. Zipporah answered, surely thou hast heard that God of the Hebrews is great and awful, and does wonders for them at all times. Now she was a Shemite. This was permitted by God for them to marry Shemites. Now it was who delivered Abraham from Ur of the Chaldees, and Isaac from the sword. She understood these things. News traveled. Yes, it does. His father and Jacob from the angel. She saw this greatness. She knew this greatness. And Jacob from the angel of the I Am, who wrestled with him at the ford of Jabbok. This woman knew this man's history. Study the man you are looking at. The study of the man that you have a crush on. Don't just go hugging him or letting him get in your things, your dainties, I'll put it that way. Study him. What is this man about? How is his words? Have he ever kept his words? Watch his parents, watch his daddy, watch his friends. Oh, that man ain't gonna do what he say he gonna do no way. If he can't do it with his own friends, how in the world he gonna even keep his promises to you? Let's go. She saw the history of this man and the lineage that he came from. Zipporah was a very wise woman in that even, I don't know how she learned to note these things, but she learned to note them about a man. And she was a virgin, even with all those years. Also with this man in verse 34, she says, also with this man has he done many things. He delivered him from the river in Egypt. She understood that. And from the sword of Pharaoh and from the children of Cush. So also he can deliver him from famine and make him alive. And the thing seemed good in the sight of Reuel. And he did according to the word of his daughter. Very wise. You're a man of status. Do not knock that woman, no matter how simple she went. Look, she might not dress all provocative like the other ones. No. That one gets bored quick anyway. You see why she do. You see women changing their makeup, changing this, changing their dress all the time. But this one here, she's just normal. I mean, natural hair, a dress that's decent and not all the way up to her buttocks. Think about it. And so she knew about this man. She knew everything about him. And so what she do? She says, now, this man, he has done many things in verse 35. And the things seemed good in the sight of Reuel. And he did according to the word of his daughter, and sent to the dungeon to ascertain what became of Moses. And he saw, and behold, the man Moses was living in the dungeon and standing upon his feet, praising and praying to the God of his ancestors. Woo. She might have rolled up on him one time and found out he was in the midst of prayer, calling on the Most High, even Tata and Zambis and Yahweh, Yahuwah. Oh, Yahweh. Yeah, he was calling on his name. He was calling on him. And she probably said, what a man. This, I can be around. I won't get bored because I know God is going to do great things. I know God is going to do a lot of great things with this man. And this is where I belong. And Reuel commanded Moses to be brought out of the dungeon. So they shaved him and he changed his prison garments and ate. And bro, don't get it wrong, those of you with the straight hair. Don't get it wrong. Now, a black man can grow long hair, and have you seen many that have gotten wild and they're styled and all that stuff from not shaving for years, 10 years, and no razor come up on his face? Neither his head. This man's hair was matted and everything else. Moses looked horrible. But there was a greatness this woman saw in him. I remember it was on national TV. There was a homeless man. Black man, yes. Nobody. You wouldn't want him. No. And there was this white woman. She had got college degrees and all these things. And apparently, for some reason, this white woman took to him. She cleaned him up. She married him. And they showed him and her with the children. Now, would a black woman walk around there, the present mindset of many black women or women today, would they walk around and even give this man the time of day who had nothing? And she took care of him. And her child loved him. Even his child loved her daddy to death. He was there with her daddy, and daddy going around. And the white woman was not hideous to look upon. She was not a big old ugly country backwoods woman looking like that. No, she wasn't that. She wasn't a black woman. We can say that much. But she saw some worth in this guy for some reason, to see that he's worth doing something. I'm not advocating anything that you think I'm advocating, but I'm saying to know the worth. See, some of you black women can just turn the tides on this mindset thing. You get a black man that's really trying. He might have a mediocre job. He's not rich, not six-figure income. Not even and a lot of black men are 6 foot tall and taller, and they just average jobs and stuff. And yes, you were given a privilege. You were given a privilege, black woman, a privilege that they are trying to set you against your own man, because they will push your success above his. Yes, they will. They will push your success above him. Because one thing, women are no threats to men of other races or other nationalities. They're no threat, not to them. So naturally, if they figure you could be surrounded by all these men of other nationalities, that you're going to eventually marry one, because you're going to see less worth in the man that looks like you. Same color, same hair as you. But the fact is, even the white woman, even Zipporah, turned the tide. This is a man that I see some worth in. I see he's a good man, and he will not leave me. I'm going to take a chance on this man. Come on, him. Your mindset is of demons. That's why, should I say, passport bros, gone overseas, Many of them just use you like the water. Those ones, they ain't pick you way. They just say, man, we give up. If I could just get my rocks off with this woman, I'm gonna do it. I say rocks. Yes, I did say it. It's not a bad word. You know what I'm saying. Said if I can just do this, that's enough. I get mine every now and then, and hey, whatever. She gonna get bored and she gonna leave anyway because I'm not her cup of tea of her excitement. But you had the means, woman. You could made excitement. Come on, let's go to Argentina. You got all that money. Come on, let's go to Argentina, man. Okay, you being friends with the man. And y'all begin to get a real tight relationship. And he does what he can as far as helping. It's not that you're the leader. It's just the fact you saying that I want this guy. And this guy, I know he wants me. And so the fact is, you do your thing. You go, you marry, and you bear. Guaranteed that man on his low estate to have a friend such as you, a wife and a friend and a confidant. One who is not like the mindset of these women today that have chosen the wicked way out. Even the whores. Let me get on. I better stop because I will get ugh. But either way, let me continue. But anyway, after Moses went into the garden of Ruel, which was behind the house, he didn't shade them up and got them all good, and he there prayed to the I am his God. He never stopped that, even though he got out of there, who had done mighty wonders for him. And it was that while as he prayed, he looked opposite to him, and behold, a sapphire stick. See, you don't know where Moses got his stick from. 66 books didn't tell you. There was a red stick he saw, a reddish looking stick, that was placed in the ground, which was planted in the midst of the garden. And he approached the stick, and he looked, and behold, the name of the I am of hosts was engraved thereon, written and developed upon the stick. Don't you know this is where they got the Norse? This was written way before they got the Norse, what they call the man with the hammer Thor. Think. They just stole this ideal. And he read it, and it was, or even the King Arthur. Oh, y'all don't have a history of your own, do you? And he read it and stretched forth his hand, and he plucked it like a forest tree from the thicket. And the stick was in his hand. But they used a rock for King Arthur. Lies told. That's why it's fiction. This is real. You hate us, don't you? You try to, you want to throw a spear at me or shoot a gun at me, don't you? Come on, try it. And, because they're only going to do you no good. And this is the stick which with all the works of our God will perform. And after he had created heaven and earth and all the host of them, seas and rivers and all their fishes. And when God had driven Adam from the Garden of Eden, he took the stick in his hand and went and tilled the ground from which he was taken. In other words, you take a stick, it's got a little head on it, a little shepherd stick, and you can just take the ground with a pointed part and just push, just keep going with that. And he tilled the ground from which he was taken, and the stick came down to Noah and was given to Shem. Shem was your Melchizedek and the other names of the priest of Endor, or whatever you want to call it. And his descendants until it came into the hand of Abram the Hebrew. See, God had preserved all this. He knew where he wanted Moses to go. You don't know how God got you going. You don't know why he has you waiting there. Don't worry about that man or that wife. God got you, or God got you. He might tell you to stay home, and you there for 10, 20 years. And all of a sudden, things pick up like crazy. Don't you know God got a way? He was preparing you while you were sitting there at the house. Don't worry about these preachers and teachers. They got all this kind of money and all these major congregations and all this. Don't worry about the platforms that you might say things on, and they suppress you and shadow ban you and all kind of things. Don't you know who's behind all of that? Not only is it spirits, but there are certain people behind that have done that. Don't worry about that mess. You might not get but about one of you like me. But the fact is, why? There are bigger and better things God got for you. But this is a stepping stone. Okay? And when Jacob had fled to Paneram, he took it into his hand, and when he returned to his father, he had not left it behind him. In other words, this is special. And also when he went down, this stick had existed ever since before the flood. This stick was very special. Also, when he went down to Egypt, in verse 47, he took it into his hand and gave it to Joseph, one portion above his brethren, for Jacob had taken it by force from his brother Esau. Esau didn't deserve that. Esau didn't even deserve his birthright. Esau was foolish. And after the death, even verse 48, and after the death of Joseph, the nobles of Egypt came into the house of Joseph, and the stick came into the hands of Reuel the Midianite. And when he went out of Egypt, he took it in his hands and planted it in his garden. He wanted to plant a tree. Something, I don't know what he wanted to do with it, but either way, some people do that. You can stick a branch in the ground and a tree will grow. But apparently something pricked his mind and said, just stick it in the ground for right now. And all the mighty men of the Kenites tried to pluck it when they endeavored to get Zipporah out of his daughter. But they were unsuccessful. In other words, the man that get this stick out of the ground will marry my beautiful daughter Zipporah. Beautiful black dark-skinned woman. A Midianitish woman. Yes. But they were unsuccessful. Just like King Arthur. He that pulls the sword out of the stone, he will become. That guy who did this had to read the same thing, but he just sublimated it to make himself look good. And many of you think that story is true. But this story is true. And so that stick remained planted in the garden of Reuel until he came who had a right to it, took it. And it was Moses, son of Levi, son of Amram, going down the line. And when Reuel saw the stick in the hand of Moses, he wondered at it, and he gave him Zipporah for a wife. God was with Zipporah. I mean, a beautiful black woman. Very chaste. Wise as God. See, this is why you always should pray, woman. To be wise before the Most High. To be wise for your man. To be one who is steadfast and temperate in all things. Yes, young woman, you can do that. And you know what, one thing, once you do have babies by the man that God wants you to have, instead of the one you desire or lust after, because you feel you ought to give him something because he done introduce you to all this excitement. You fool. You knew he was a liar from the time that he was with you. You knew he had more than one woman and wasn't married to either one of them, and he got you and he went back to some other woman or met another one and left you with your child. And now you cry. Stop it. Put a spiritual chastity belt on your mind. And wait on God. Guarantee you it won't be long. And even if it was long, God will still bless you to have children. Not by your, if you believe man, then you ought to not have a child. If he can give Sarah a child at 99 years old, if she established her family then, and then he come back and Rebecca, she didn't have a child for a while, and then here you got Leah and Rachel. Just to give you an historical account of what God is about. Not in your time. God don't walk beside you. He don't walk behind you, but he walks in front of you. Because everything behind you, he'd already taken care of. And on the side of you, it has no chance if you stick to the just the law, statutes, commandments, and ordinances of the Most High. It don't matter what age you are. Oh, I'm an old man. You listening to the world. This is why God, you anger God. You're listening to the world. You're listening to man, just as Joseph did. Oh, when you get to the king's house, just remember me. And God was angry with him. I don't want your pity. I don't want your whatever you got, because God got me. Because you got nuclear bombs and ships and soldiers and all this. There's really nothing you can do to me after you kill the body. Nothing. You just a lost dog in high wheat. That's what you gonna be. Because you gotta die and cross that same threshold. In other words, when you trust God, you have nothing to lose in this world but all to gain. And that song was very true. But yet they were pagans that made that song, because they infused a prophet, give him another name, and they infused him with the words of the Most High and tried to entangle him with prophecy when the prophecy really had nothing to do with him, a lot of them. In Isaiah 53, he said, oh, what about that? No, many scholars have found out that was an insert. But the fact is that we're finished. We'll be on chapter 78. And think about this woman. Think about this young man. And shalom. Peace. And happy Shabbat.
Walk with me.